At 7 months pregnant, I decided to divorce Emery. My father thought 30 was too old for childishness. Divorcing over a bouquet? You've lost your mind. If he forgets, just tell him. In 3 years of marriage, Emery had never remembered what I liked. I'd told myself he was born clumsy with feelings. Yet half a month earlier, when his ex-girlfriend was hospitalized, he ordered a bouquet delivered to St. Mary's every single day. Lilies, her favorite flower. Before we go on, subscribe to this channel and commented where you're listening from. The moment I resolved to divorce arrived on an ordinary weekend. It was a family dinner. Emery and I reached the banquet hall after both families had already settled in. He told our parents Dylan had held them up. His tone carried apology, yet sounded utterly sincere. So the instant he finished, Dad waved him to the seat beside him. Come, have a couple of drinks with me. Our mothers flanked me, one on each side. Taylor beamed at my swollen belly. Looks even bigger than last week. Mom's worried words followed on top of hers. You seem listless, and your feet are so puffy. The second Mom spoke, Emery's gaze flicked toward me. We locked eyes for a few seconds. I lowered mine to the overstuffed Crocs. They did look puffier than 2 weeks ago. Mom added, right, black base fillet brings the swelling down. Did you buy it like I told you last time? At the question, Emery set down his glass and answered seriously, I did. My mom cooks it every few days and brings it over, but she can only manage a few bites each time. At gatherings like this, the talk always drifts to family trivia. Ever since I got pregnant, the topic orbited around me. When we left, Mom pulled Emery aside. She told him a pregnant woman's mood is what matters most. She asked him to spend more time with me. Better yet, take a few days off and take me on a short vacation. Sam, on the drive home, he asked, haven't been sleeping? You've got dark circles. The little one's hyper. I was one of those women cursed with fierce morning sickness. From month 2 I threw up everything I ate. Only around month 5 did the morning sickness ease. Then the baby kick started. The tiny thing partied only at night. Still, I could scrape together some sleep, until recently. The nightly acrobatics have grown more frequent. Sleeplessness is the new normal. Emery glanced at my belly and went quiet a moment. Should I request a few days off? Where would you like to go? No need. Your promotion is almost due. Asking for leave now would look bad. Emery pressed his lips and said nothing more. The car passed the night market. Hawkers lined the curb with buckets of flowers. I turned to him. Today's Chishi. He laughed. Since when do you care about this holiday? True, in 2 years of dating and 3 of marriage, apart from the big trio festivals, we had never once celebrated Valentine's or Chishi, let alone our anniversary. I kept a faint smile. Could you buy me a bouquet? Emery eyed the retreating vendors outside. Sure. What flowers? I'll hop out. With that, he told designated to pull over. The door opened. Emery stood beside the car. Roses? Lilies? Tulips? Question after question, he's forever asking. Hot asphalt fumes rolled into the back seat. A sticky weight lodged in my chest. We stared at each other for half a minute. I waited. At last his unchanged puzzled look drained every expectation away. I smiled. Forget it. Don't bother. Our condo sits in a sweet spot, supermarkets, farmers market, and both our offices within easy reach. The only snag, no purchased parking spot. Designated circled the block. We ended up half a kilometer away. Emery and I walked the rest. It was a July evening, the wind carried only mounting heat. Alex. A few paces and he unconsciously quickened his stride. Side by side became single file. When I drifted indoors, the central air was already blowing. Emery, fresh from the shower, wore the silk pajamas I'd bought him, balancing his laptop on his knees. I stared at the water droplets in his hair. The foyer to the living room had never looked so far enough that after 5 years together I'd only truly met him half a month earlier. Coincidence led me there, an ordinary prenatal checkup. I stepped into the elevator for the ultrasound and a woman in a hospital gown entered clutching lilies. At first I paid no attention. Then the little nurse beside me piped up. This makes 10 bouquets? The woman glanced at the flowers and smiled faintly. The nurse leaned closer. What's today's line? I see plain grass and trees in every face, only you are my green hill. A love quote every single day, huh? Out of curiosity I stole a glance at the card. For seconds I forgot to breathe. Handwritten, perfectly aligned, to Sophia. Between that line, bottom right, the sender, Emery. He has a habit, every downstroke pauses, then flicks outward. I prayed the handwriting was coincidence, the name shared. Sam, in those cramped quarters I became a shameful eavesdropper, desperate to fish out proof of coincidence. Taylor, is someone courting you? My ex. Trying to win you back. But you've been here ages and he's only sent flowers, never showed. Hardly sincere. He's an engineer, buried in work. Wow, a tech guy, and romantic? Will you take him back? I glanced sideways at Sophia. Her lips parted, just then the doors opened. No answer came, I left without hearing. That afternoon, back from St. Mary's, I traced every thread of Emery and Sophia's past. He's steady, self-contained, he avoids idle socializing, refuses short-form videos. Work soaks up most of his hours. Beyond WhatsApp he owns no social apps. His timeline has been blank for 6 months. Except for one locked album in his old account. Security question, what is my favorite flower? In my memory Emery cared nothing for blooms. I tried several guesses, wrong every time. Then the white lilies flashed across my mind. The folder opened, screenshot after screenshot unfolded before me. They had dated while earning overseas degrees, split at graduation. Sophia chased him first, 77 handwritten love letters, 180 breakfasts. Eventually she felled that stolid tree. He kept a notes app of her favorites. Not, sorry, I forgot you hate cilantro. He listened to her playlists, queued for concerts. Not, you've seen this movie 10 times, doesn't that waste hours? They daydreamed over vacation plans, pored over guides together. Not, wherever you want, your call. They sketched their future condo. Not, pick a style, I'm fine either way. They mapped out life, even chose names for babies yet unborn. He promised her a bouquet every day, each carrying a single line of love. Before knowing all this I truly believed Emery was just being Emery. That engineers come preset to bland. The AC chased the heat away, a shiver ran through me. Emery caught the movement and looked over. I'll run your bath. He closed the laptop and started for the bathroom. I stopped him. No hurry. We need to talk. He paused. Sure. Want fruit? I'll rent some. I shook my head. I'm fine. What's on your mind? Emery asked, eyes on his screen, fingers typing. I sat opposite him and came straight out. You weren't working overtime the night before last, were you? Without lifting his gaze he answered evenly, no. What were you doing? Met a friend. Sophia? His fingers froze, his stare shifted from the monitor to me. Yes. We had a quick dinner. He didn't ask how I knew he hadn't been at the office. He didn't even ask how I'd learned the name Sophia. His expression stayed calm from start to finish. Why did you marry me back then? My seat was directly under the air conditioning vent, so when I asked the question my voice carried a slight tremor. Emery stared at me for several silent seconds. I looked into his eyes and pressed him. That hard to answer? He hesitated. You're considerate, you know when to stop, you think about me, you're the type who'd make a good wife. My nose stung. Without thinking I pushed further. Just good, nothing more? Emery let a few beats pass. Taryn, we're about to be parents. I understood what he meant. We were 30, we really ought to be past chasing fairy tale love. Yet until him I'd never dated. Emery and I had started with a blind date. Fate can be strange sometimes. I never imagined the boy who lit up my entire adolescence would reappear when I was 25. It was the 7th blind date my parents had arranged. I'd blown off the first 6 with every excuse I could invent. That day I couldn't conjure another, so I marched in like a duck driven to the chopping block. My plan was to phone it in. But the moment I pushed open the private dining room door I saw the face that, after all those years, still made my heart skip. The boyishness of high school was gone from Emery. In its place stood a quiet steadiness. He was as sparing with words as ever. He didn't recognize me. For most of the meal I asked, he answered. I told him my job, my hobbies. I asked what kind of girlfriend he wanted, what requirements he had for a life partner. He said he was an engineer, not chatty, clueless about romance, and hoped for a girlfriend who didn't sweat the small stuff either. He could promise to hand over his paycheck and guarantee he'd never cheat. Sam, I took the step I hadn't dared take at 18. I asked for his number. So, how do you think I measure up? Pretty good, he said. I curved my eyes in a smile. Then let's give it a shot. From then on we were a couple, though I still made most of the moves. I even proposed to him, and I never tired of it. Put simply, I was the one who chased Emery. My gaze drifted to the wedding portrait on the wall, my favorite shot. In it I'm shamelessly tugging his ear while he looks down at me with a faint smile. The print is huge, hung dead center, the first thing you see when you walk in. The joy I'd felt choosing that spot now felt like mockery. This whole marriage has basically been my one-woman show. Sam. After a moment of silence I said, let's get a divorce. Emery, mystified, decided I was throwing a tantrum. You're about to be a mom, stop talking nonsense. In a way he and I are alike. He's married to his career, work always comes first. So am I. I believe women can soar in the workplace instead of being boxed in. So we didn't rush into kids after the wedding. Our parents nagged, but Emery respected my timeline. Yet when I caught the unstoppable joy in his eyes as he watched strangers' children, I wavered. I convinced myself a happy marriage is an achievement too. Sam, the year I turned 30 I got pregnant. I glanced at my rounded belly. I mean it. I'm not joking. Just because Sophia and he caught himself. Just because I had dinner with Sophia? I didn't do anything to betray you. I know, I said. 3 nights earlier Emery had taken a call from Sophia inviting him out. He usually sleeps like a log, but that night, even with my back to him, I felt him toss and turn. He didn't sleep at all. When the alarm rang he got up and left for work as usual. I stayed home all day, watching the clock. Half an hour before quitting time I got his text, working late. The car he drives now is the one we bought together after the wedding. We'd installed location sharing on both phones. I followed the dot, hailed a cab, and arrived at a Hunan restaurant. I don't know who picked it, but I know Emery can't handle spice. Well, I once lived for it. When did I change my tastes? Probably our first date when he asked me to choose and I suggested Szechuan. Can we switch? I can't eat chili, he'd said. After that, spicy food slowly disappeared from our table. Emery and Sophia sat by the window. I spotted them the moment I stepped out of the cab. I watched them face each other, watched him wave the server over, order dish after flaming dish. I watched Sophia fill his water glass again and again. I watched him dunk every bite to rinse off the heat. Only then did I realize he could endure spice for her. I knew what he meant by I didn't betray you. Standing under a plane tree, I saw them eat and chat like Casey, old friends with nothing to hide. So what counts as betrayal? I asked. Lying that you're working late when you're dining with your ex-girlfriend? Or sending her flowers behind my back? He sighed, irritable. I didn't think it was worth mentioning. We're just friends now. Righteousness rang in his voice. I sounded petty by comparison. My nose burned. The speech I'd saved up dissolved. From the cat room Dobao mewed, probably hungry. I'll go feed him, I said. Emery stood and walked toward the pet room. I eyed the near-dead tulips on the coffee table, inhaled, and pushed myself up. I'll stay at my parents' tonight. I'll have a lawyer draft the papers in a couple of days. He halted, back to me. I couldn't see his face. After a beat he said, you're emotionally unstable. Let's pretend the divorce talk never happened. Go home for a couple of days and cool off. He strode on toward the cat. I stared at the back of his head and suddenly remembered asking, right before our wedding, whether he'd coax me if we ever fought. He dodged, we won't fight. Giddy over the coming marriage, I'd missed the fact that a non-answer is still an answer. I packed a change of clothes and went home. Mom and Dad asked why I was alone. I lied that Emery had been sent on a sudden business trip. They adore their son-in-law. Dad treats him like a second son, respectable job, good looks, filial piety. So I kept the divorce idea to myself for now. Next morning I reached for my phone. A whole night had passed. Our WhatsApp thread still ended with his fake overtime note. I studied his avatar, a lily. I'd once teased him for being outdated and offered to pick a new one. He said he was used to it, changing might confuse coworker. Years later it's still the same flower. I tapped out a message. I'll have a lawyer draw up the papers in the next 2 days. I don't want the condo, buy me out. I'll come get my stuff the day after tomorrow. The green block sat alone like seaweed ignored by the tide. I muted his chat, went downstairs 15 minutes later, and found Mom plating black bass fillet. I blanched it with ginger and cooking wine, no fishy smell, she said softly. I tasted a piece. It's delicious, really clean. I booked brunch with Chloe, there's a new Instagram spot on New Street. She beamed and slid a debit card from her apron. My secret stash, Dad doesn't know. Treat yourselves, buy something you like. Password's your birthday. I set down my chopsticks, a sour warmth flooded my chest. Keep it, Mom. I have money, she pretended to glower. I've got nothing to spend it on, so take it, she said, shoving the cash into my pocket. At dinner Chloe and I hit the trendy spot everyone was posting about. While I was mixing dipping sauce I passed a private dining room and heard 2 familiar voices, Sophia and Emery. What's wrong, Taylor? You look down. Emery sighed. Nothing. Let's eat. I'll drive you home after. Sophia laughed softly. Oh, come on, don't hide things from me. Her tone turned curious. Did you and the missus fight? About what? Maybe I can help. We had lunch together last week and she's ready to file for divorce. Sophia chuckled knowingly. Dummy, she's jealous. Finish up and go explain. I already told her we're just friends. My car has location sharing. If I were up to something I'd never have driven. I thought she'd calm down overnight, but at lunch Emery trailed off. Maybe it's the pregnancy, she never used to nitpick like this. Sophia went quiet, then said, go coax her. Pregnant women can't bottle things up. You know I'm no good at that. Who says? She teased. You used to be pretty smooth. What are you doing? Your sauce is dripping, Chloe said, snapping me back. I looked down, a big smear of sesame paste on my maternity dress. Ran into acquaintances, I answered, smiling. I took a few steps forward. The cubicles here are half open. When Emery spotted me, he was lifting food to Sophia's bowl. His chopsticks froze. Surprise flashed across his face, asking without words what I was doing here. I'm having dinner with Chloe, I supplied. I glanced at Sophia and asked politely, aren't you going to introduce us? He noticed the stain on my dress and stood. My wife, he said evenly. Sophia greeted me just as evenly. The whole exchange was perfectly civil, so much so that even Chloe missed the undercurrent. I told her I was going home with Emery to change and we'd reschedule. She hesitated, eyes flicking to my clenched fists, then nodded. Sure, I won't play third wheel. Sophia also said she had to run. She grabbed her bag and headed out. Emery didn't stop her, only watched until she disappeared. He cleared his throat. Let's go, home so you can change. The car crawled out of the garage. Stars that had been sprinkled across the sky were now smothered by black clouds. A summer cloudburst arrived with thunder. Raindrops the size of peas drummed the windshield. Emery's eyes locked on the bus stop ahead, his knuckles whitened on the wheel. Sophia stood there, skirt soaked, hair whipping in the wind, utterly bedraggled. The car slowed to a crawl. Hard to get a cab here, he muttered. She just got out of the hospital, she can't get drenched. When I stayed silent, he tugged at his collar, frustrated. You're about to be a mother, not some petty teenager. Can't you be bigger than this? If you saw your friend stranded in the rain, would you just drive away? It was the first time he'd ever snapped at me. I didn't argue, I simply tilted my head. Did I say you couldn't? He opened his mouth, found no words, licked his lips, then yanked the door open, snatched the umbrella from the back seat, and dashed out. Through the waterfall I watched him sprint, shoulders and back drenched, the umbrella tilting toward her in spite of himself. She climbed in behind me. Sorry to intrude, sis. To break the ice, she added, we're acquainted now, right? If Emery ever bullies you, tell me, I'll set him straight. She was bright and unguarded, raking wet hair from her forehead. Emery handed her tissues. Can't you act ladylike for once? Watching them I felt like an extra in their scene. I remembered the day we were dating. A client showed up at closing and it poured. I'd forgotten my umbrella and texted Emery, who was working from home, to pick me up. He said he was busy. Instead he sent delivery with an umbrella. He's always been good to me, hands over his paycheck, tells me to buy whatever I want. Since the pregnancy his mom cooks anything I crave. But with Sophia he never delegates, every little thing he does himself. I once read online, love shows its weight in the differences. That was Emery. What he'd given her, he'd never given me. After we dropped her off we headed home. Inside, I went straight for the storage closet, hauled out a suitcase, and began filling it. Emery rubbed his temples. What exactly are you throwing a tantrum about? I didn't answer. I looked around. 1,600 square feet, 3 years of marriage, every inch stuffed by me, furniture, appliances, down to the cheapest spoon. I decided to keep it simple, clothes and valuables only. He snatched the half-folded jacket from my hands. I'm not allowed friends now? I met his impatient stare. You don't treat her as just a friend. I turned away, he grabbed my arm. What about the baby? I'm carrying him, I said. But you're still his father. After the divorce you can visit whenever you want. His eyes were cool. Taryn, we're adults. Divorce isn't a flippant word. 2 meals, nothing more. And the flowers, those were a promise I made years ago. You know I keep my word. If it were only the promise he could have sent them and vanished. I exhaled, nudging the cat rubbing my ankle. I don't know if you're clueless or only pretending. Take Dobao, You trim his nails on schedule, bathe him on schedule, know which canned food he likes, know he hates duck stuffed treats, you remember everything about him. Yet I, your living, breathing wife, you've never even asked what flowers I like. Tell me, what's left worth salvaging in this marriage? He stood frozen. When he spoke again, it was to dodge the point. He's just a cat. Why compete with him? And I've always been like this, you knew that when you married me. A dull weight dragged at me, my hands behind my back wouldn't stop shaking. I wasn't alone in this body anymore, I couldn't let emotion pull me under. Sam, I curled my fingers into fists until the nails bit flesh, anchoring myself. I had no more words. If you won't agree, file the papers and serve me. I walked out of the home we'd shared for 3 years without looking back. The elevator had barely started its descent when my phone buzzed. Chloe, I'm downstairs. 6 little letters, yet my spine finally unclenched. The doors opened to find her pacing. She blinked, then grinned. I was working out how to knock without a lame excuse. She heaved the suitcase into her trunk. I asked why she'd come. She glanced sideways. Those cute tricks might fool anyone else, but you're an amateur next to me. I laughed, and then couldn't stop the tears. Once the dam broke, the sobs filled the car. All this time I'd thought Emery and I had married for love. The way I saw it, if 2 people decide to get married, decide to build a new family together, it means they're in love. We'd even dated for 2 whole years. If there hadn't been love, we never would have taken that step. So for 3 years of marriage I never asked him whether he loved me. I had no idea you could actually share a life without love. The streetlights outside the car window flickered across Chloe's face. Her eyes stayed fixed on the elevator doors. I knew why she hadn't started the engine. We'd been inseparable since diaper days, she understands me better than my parents do. I gain weight easily, and thanks to my family background, I grew up timid and self-conscious. Jamie, Chloe was always there. Jordan, we lived an hour apart, city versus county, only seeing each other on weekends. Riverside's cutthroat academics drove my weight straight up, at a face full of acne, and I became the class joke. Nicknames like Lard Butt and Buffalo Girl flew at me every day. One noon I hit the cafeteria line and scored my favorite braised pork. Balancing my tray, I hunted for an empty table. The place was packed, somebody tripped me. I face-planted, my cheeks landing in the rice, gravy gluing strands of hair to my forehead. I was the instant main attraction. Looks like Taryn's aiming for pig status, still stuffing her face. Check that tray, she out-eats the football guys. The chatter swallowed me whole. Then someone yelled, Emery's gone to get the principal. The crowd scattered. A hand holding napkins appeared. Wipe off. I'm from the class next door, want to eat together from now on? He wore the standard blue and white uniform, sunlight from the tall windows resting on his shoulders like a spotlight. A single beam had crashed into my dark teenage tunnel. Later I learned he was the legend who owned every top-rank list. After that, we became silent lunch partners, never a word, just shared tables. I didn't dare look straight at him. Star students are teachers' pets, even the principal brags about them. Because of him the mockery moved from my face to behind my back. The second time I spoke to him someone behind us muttered, freak squared. I said, sorry you're stuck in that. Maybe we shouldn't eat together. He told me not to care. Grades are king, he said, excellence shuts people up. I listened, blocked the noise, and studied. Watching my name climb toward his on the honor roll became the happiest game of high school. For 3 years I kept a quiet log of his habits, no scallions, no cilantro, dark-colored teas, Eason Chan on his headphones. Only my diary and Chloe knew. The summer after graduation she caught me staring at his number, snatched my phone, and hit call. Someone else answered. Seconds later I heard Emery had flown abroad. I thought the secret crush would sink into the past, until it resurfaced 7 years later. I was no longer the chubby, insecure girl, yet the moment I got his new contact I pestered Chloe. Am I pretty? Girl, you could snag a billionaire. If anyone should feel inadequate, it's that block of wood. Yes, we called him Wood. So I bent, I accommodated, never realizing he did know how to love, just not me. Chloe glanced up at the lit balcony. Is he dead? Why isn't he down here? Through my sobs I managed, I'm divorcing him. Tell me straight, did he cheat? I shook my head. She punched the steering wheel, then saw my tears and went still. Finally, she looked at my belly. What about the baby? I'll raise him alone. She thought a second, then smiled. Deal. I'm still the godmother. She begged me to stay at her place. I refused. Some things you can't outrun. At home, I told my parents. Dad shot off the sofa. Divorce over a bouquet? Have you lost it? Just tell him what you want. You're 30, grow up. I forbid it. Take your bag and go back. Mom, silent till now, rolled my suitcase out of his reach. Stop making her run around in her condition. We'll talk tomorrow. Dad glared. Your daughter, your fault. Mom ignored him and tucked me into bed like when I was little, patting my back until my breathing slowed. I asked if she had anything to say. Your generation isn't mine, divorce isn't scandalous anymore. That was all. Her quiet permission gave me the first deep sleep I'd had in weeks. Next morning, Dad summoned Emery and his parents. In front of them, Emery recounted everything that had happened with Sophia, no omissions. His parents said he'd always been socially blunt, I should spell out my needs and let him buy what I like. Linda held my hands. All couples bicker, dear. Don't toss around the D word, it wounds. Whatever he did, Mom apologizes for him. He's just a log, forgive him. My father chuckled and sent Emery to the florist, buy one of every bouquet, problem solved. The old suffocation wrapped around me again, pulling me downward. It's not about a bouquet, I said, or 2 meals with Sophia. They stared as though I spoke gibberish, insisting I was overreacting. I know divorce is messier than a breakup, 2 families, a baby almost here, and I hesitated. For 2 weeks I tortured myself, his money is in my account, maybe I can half close my eyes. But the instant I relaxed, scenes of Emery and Sophia rolled in like a tide. I could live with him, never asking why I watched the same film 15 times, never wondering what hides in my diary, never remembering my favorite flower. I could stomach him being lukewarm water, yet I can't stand the thought of that water boiling for someone else. I'm ending the marriage. When our parents saw I wouldn't bend, they filed out of the bedroom, leaving Emery and me alone. He dragged a chair beside me. I honestly don't get the fuss. 3 years, we've been fine. You're forgetting, I said. We never fought from dating till now. No, why? I gave a cold laugh. Because I swallowed every discomfort, Morgan. If you managed before, why not now? If it's about Sophia, I swear on my life we're just friends, nothing. Stop pretending, I cut in. Admit you still love her, there's no shame. I've admitted you don't love me. Let's part with dignity instead of rotting together. Does love even matter that much? His voice shot up. The essence of marriage is making do, Emery said, rising to his feet so he could look down at me. Look at our parents, they made do their whole lives. Taryn, grow up, okay? You're selfish, but I can't let our baby be born into a single-parent home. I won't agree to a divorce. I never imagined Emery and I would actually end up in court. I had prepared for the worst, but I knew the timeline, from filing to trial would take at least a month. Emery hadn't committed any major fault, so the first ruling wouldn't grant the divorce, and then we'd have to wait another 6 months. I couldn't wait, I was about to give birth. My hands shook at my sides. He didn't love me, yet he refused to let me go. I wiped away the tears that had slipped out without my noticing and raised my head to meet his eyes. Then let's go to court. I won't make do. If you want a divorce, fine, the child comes with me. That sentence detonated something inside me. It shattered what was left of my composure. I grabbed a throw pillow and hurled it at him. I told him to get out, told him I never wanted to see him again. Riley, after Emery left, my father came into the room. He scolded me for being willful. He said I was the one who proposed back then. Now I was the one screaming for a divorce. He said 2 people stay together by tolerating each other. Emery didn't know how to love, so I should teach him, explain more. My ears rang. But he did know how. How else could I teach? At our first blind date I told him I loved tulips. For 3 straight years the house had never been without them. They sat right under his nose and he still couldn't remember. What more was I supposed to say? I clenched fistfuls of the sofa fabric. I proposed. I had the courage to chase love. I did nothing wrong. Dad trembled with rage. You're 30. Divorced with a child, who will want you then? If I had the courage to chase love, I have the courage to walk away. I have a job and a salary. I don't need anyone to want me, I can raise her myself. The veins at my temples throbbed, my body started to go limp, but Dad's lecturing continued. He said a married daughter is spilled water. If I insisted on divorce, I shouldn't step through this door again. I've tolerated you my whole life, and you never once thought to buy me a decent outfit. And now you want your daughter to follow my same miserable path? You don't get a vote. Worst case, your daughter and I will move out and leave this house to you. Those were the last words I heard before I fainted, my mother bursting in to say them. Hemorrhage. Premature delivery. Straight to the operating table. I walked the edge of death. Fortunately, both mother and daughter survived. For whatever reason, Mom told me Emery stood outside the NICU for Casey, and finally agreed to the divorce. 3 months later I was back at my desk. My daughter stayed with Mom. I commuted, worked, came home, life was calm and solid. I never saw Emery again. Whenever he visited our daughter, I made sure to be elsewhere. A decade of feelings can't vanish overnight, but weighed against a lifetime, I preferred the way things were now. During that period I heard news of him. After the divorce, Emery set out to win Sophia back. I'd expected it, it didn't surprise me. Time pushed me forward. The next time I saw him was 6 months later. I was having lunch with Chloe. Mid-meal I went to the restroom. I found Emery on his phone by the sinks. I told you I'm having lunch with a client. We can see the movie any day, does it have to be tonight? I don't ask you to solve my problems, but can't you at least be considerate? He hung up, turned, and met my gaze. His suit was slightly wrinkled. The frown on his face relaxed the moment he saw me. I gave him a small nod. He pointed toward the client's table. I'm here with a client. I smiled. Looks like your client enjoys spicy food. He watched me, a faint smile tugging at his lips. Yeah, just like you. I won't keep you, then. I didn't linger. I walked straight into the restroom. Compared to the wreck I'd been right after the divorce, I was now unshakable. Listening to him snap at Sophia, it wasn't hard to see they weren't happy. I thought it would feel like victory. It didn't. My heart was quiet. Maybe what you can't have is forever the best. Once you have it, the ending is always the same. Emery and I never deleted each other's contacts. He had changed in small ways. I'm someone who documents life. A tiny incident and I'll post. Emery never liked or commented, until recently. He went back and liked 100 of my posts. I didn't know what it meant, and I didn't care. I focused on living. Lose a mulberry, gain an elm. Another half-year slipped by and I was promoted. I hadn't expected Emery to text congratulations. Congratulations. I replied, Ellis. Seconds later another message popped up. Let me take you to dinner when you're free. This time I didn't answer. That weekend the coworkers had a dinner. I was in a good mood and drank a little too much. As 2 coworkers helped me wobble out of the banquet hall, I saw him. He'd tracked me down through my posts. The coworkers caught on and discreetly left us alone. Something on your mind? I asked. He pressed his lips together, pulled my journal from his laptop bag. I read it. I didn't know you were so. I cut him off. It's all in the past. I'd left that journal on purpose. Page after page of cramped handwriting. The daydreams of a young girl. The joy of becoming someone's wife. The thrill of the life we'd created together. I'd pictured him opening it 100 times. Never imagined it would be a year after our divorce. Emery's eyes were lowered. I couldn't read them. He seemed to wrestle with himself. Casey, he raised his gaze. Taryn, can we go back? I froze. I knew things with Sophia weren't good, but even so, I hadn't thought he'd turn around. In that instant the scene of our first meeting flashed through my mind. He was still in the blue and white uniform, but this time there was no glow around him. In the crowded cafeteria he didn't look extraordinary at all. I opened my mouth. His phone rang. He answered, and Sophia's voice spilled out. Have you landed? I can't find the cheongsam we bought on vacation. Do you remember where you put it? Emery frowned, said nothing, and ended the call. A long silence later he spoke softly. Taryn, you used to take care of everything for me. Only now do I realize my life can't run without you. Emery, don't answer yet. Let me finish. His gaze was almost pleading. You wrote over and over that I never remembered what you liked. I know I was awful, but I've learned. Look, I wrote it all down. He opened his notes app and showed me. I know you hate cilantro, you love tulips, you love Joker Schwez songs. You've watched the movie 77 Heartbreaks a dozen times. I watched it too. He gave a bitter laugh. You forgave me way more than 77 times, 770, maybe. Give me one more chance to make it up to you, to give our daughter a complete home. I studied his face and couldn't help thinking, if he'd said these words the first time I asked for a divorce, I would have given him another chance. I'd loved him for so many years. I'd been lost, exhausted, but next to loving him none of that mattered. I'd waited all this time, for him to finally wake up. Whether those words came from his heart or from regret, at least I had heard them, yet now I only found them absurd. An indescribable feeling flooded me. I shook my head. There's no going back. Emery stepped forward, reaching for my hand. I pulled back and wrapped my coat tighter. I hailed a cab, glanced at him one last time. No need to make it up. Consider it a parting gift. I climbed in. In the rearview mirror his shoulders curved downward, until he was crouching on the pavement. My phone vibrated in my pocket. I looked away and checked it, an audio message from Mom. Her voice brimmed with joy. She told me my daughter had just said mama. My nose stung, happy tears burst free. I called her back at once. Mom, my year-end bonus just hit. Let's take a vacation for New Year's. This time she didn't scold me for spending, she agreed at once. Suddenly I felt, in that moment, utterly happy, and it had nothing to do with love. Thanks for listening to today's story. If you liked it, please like and share it with friends. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more stories. See you next time.